Hello everybody, it's Shady here, and for today's video we are going to be talking about one of my favourite consoles of all time, the Sony PSP. And obviously today I'm just going to be going over about the system. Let's say if you're looking to buy it, just let you know what you need to know to buy it in 2024 and beyond. And I'm going to show my game collection. Yeah. Obviously first things first, the PSP obviously was Sony's first foray into the handheld market, so it was really interesting because obviously notoriously other companies have tried to go up against Nintendo and have failed. No one's been able to get any kind of market share against them until this thing, and they actually yeah, it did pretty well. I think it was like 80 million units sold or something like that, which was decent for a first handheld. And obviously, yeah, it was the direct competitor to the DS, and the DS did like 150 million units, so it didn't come close to that, but still did decently well. And obviously what was great about this is, obviously because it was Sony, they kind of did their own little twist on things. So this thing wasn't just a game system, obviously. Yeah, it ran on these things called UMDs, which yeah, allowed for more space than the DS games. And this thing was essentially a handheld PS2, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Yeah, how they were able to, it's not quite as powerful, but it's decent enough. And to get that into such a small form factor, it was kind of incredible. Obviously they did follow this up with the Vita, which didn't do quite as well, and now they're kind of not really about that handheld thing. Closest thing you got now obviously is something like the Portal or doing remote play, that kind of stuff. That's like the equivalency of handheld play for Sony, and I don't really see them doing anything more than that. There are rumours apparently that they're going to be doing some sort of like basically a port to PS4, but we have to wait and see on that. I mean, I hope that's true because that would be awesome. I would buy that in a heartbeat. But yeah, obviously this thing's great because yeah, it wasn't just a cool, powerful system. It had some great games to back it up and everything. And obviously when it comes down to the system itself now, what do you need to know if you're looking to buy one? So obviously, basically got like 5 models of this system. There's the 1000, which was the original model. This is the 2000. You then have the 3000. There was the PSP Go, which was kind of a weird little kind of digital only system, so it couldn't play the actual cards, or the discs, so I would probably avoid that one. And then there was the E1000, which was like a stripped down, really budget version, only released in Europe. And then yeah, when it comes to the intricacies of the system, obviously the 1000 is the first model, a bit bulkier, had a weird kind of eject function. Apparently one of the issues was when you did the eject thing, it would like shoot out the disc. That was kind of weird. This one, it's like slimmer and it just opens up. Has a nice screen, a little bit brighter than that version, better battery life, all that. And then the 3000 was just a slightly better version. It's kind of, yeah, I would say really you just want the 2000 or 3000. Those are the 2 models you want to go for. The 3000 has a brighter screen. I think it's a slightly higher refresh rate, but there's ghosting or something I've heard, which you don't get as much on with this one. And I think the battery life is just slightly better and stuff like that. Then yeah, the E1000 was just like a really kind of stripped down version. Only has stereo sound, no internet capabilities, that sort of thing. And it was just cheaper looking overall. Yeah, like I said, I would say go for either 2000 or 3000. This is the original model I got. Still held up really well and works perfectly. Obviously, yeah, it's so infrequent when I use it, I need to basically charge it every time I use it because the battery goes. Yeah, I found in comparison to like the DS, like the DS I could go like a year without playing it and it still got like near enough a full charge, whereas this thing, the battery can't really hold it very well. You can upgrade the battery as well, which is one thing you'll want to do. Another thing, this is one of the most important parts. This was kind of a controversial thing. This thing uses a memory stick. So it uses this thing called the Memory Stick Pro Duo, which obviously, yeah, was very expensive, just like with the Vita where they had their proprietary memory thing. So it doesn't use just a SD card, they decided to use their own weird one. But I remember when I bought it at the time, I was able to get an adapter, which was cool. And I was able to just put an SD card in this adapter and use it. Because yeah, all it needs to do is be able to fit in there. Because it is literally the same thing as an SD card, just a different shape. So, but yeah, it's an awesome system. And like I said, yeah, it's definitely worth picking up. And obviously, I think the like 1000 you'll find the cheapest if you don't mind. But I said go with the 2000 or 3000. But anyway, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the system. Obviously, yeah, you need to make sure it comes with the charger as well. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Accessories wise, there was like a camera and I think a mic you can get that are compatible with certain games. You don't really need that. Those are just for those specific games. I think the camera it worked for some game where something to do with these animals or something, where you could like take pictures and it would turn into these little animals. All it did was kind of recognize the color of the image and then turn it into one of these things. And that was like a bit of a later game. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know when it comes to that aspect. Next up, let's talk about the games. I think that's the most important part of it, obviously. Yeah, so one of the first games I want to talk about is Warriors Orochi. So obviously, like I said, this was basically a PS2 in handheld form. So one thing it could do that other handhelds weren't able to, even like the DS, was these PS2 style games. So obviously, as you know, this is basically Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors kind of combined. So yeah, this is a port of Warriors Orochi, which is obviously a Musha game. Yeah, so you're one dude versus multiple enemies. You don't get quite as many enemies compared to like the console versions, but it's still really cool. Yeah, obviously there were still booklets at this point as well. And yeah, if I haven't shown, you do have the actual disc itself within this little case. Yeah, awesome game. Obviously you've got tons of different warriors from both games combined into one. And I believe, yeah, you could do 2-player with this one, because obviously the PSP was able to do multiplayer. It did it in a bit of a weird way. So you didn't have a link cable. You're able to connect them either wire through the LAN, do basically like a LAN party. I think you could do system to system link. Then I think if it was multiple than that, it was a thing called like ad hoc mode, because obviously Monster Hunter was a big thing on the system as well. So you could, I think, you could either do it via a PC, and I know there was an app you could get on the PS3 because the PS3 had some good compatibility with the system as well. So yeah, there was a few things you could do. Because obviously, another thing I forgot to mention was this thing is also a PS1 as well. It's able to run PS1 games, and yeah, because the screen and everything, they look really good on here as well. So, and yeah, it had a store and everything, but you were able to connect via the PS3. So you could, if you bought a PS1 game off the PlayStation Store on the PS3, you could just copy it directly onto your PSP. And there was other games that allowed for like crossing saves over and stuff like that. And it was also able to do a version of remote play via the PS3. And I think it was able to do it to some capacity with PS4 possibly. And the remote play wasn't as good as on this because only certain games it would work with. It's very weird because you could connect and use the like full menu system, but not all games would boot up. So I think there was like Grand Theft Auto, not Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo and a couple others that allowed for it. Flow, Journey, games like that allowed for it. But yeah, but anyway, let's move on to the rest of the collection. Next up, this is a great one. Disgaea, Afternoon of Darkness. So obviously this is a port of the first Disgaea game, but what was really cool is when they actually ported these games over to the PSP, because they did the same with Disgaea 2 as well, they added a shit ton of content. So with this one, you got a whole new Etna mode, as you can see on the back there. So basically, obviously that's Etna there. So there was, I can't remember how you did it. You had to either do some sort of cheat or something at the menu screen and it allowed you to start Etna mode. Basically, when she's trying to wake up Lahal at the start of the game, she accidentally kills him because she shoots him and does all the stuff to wake him up out of his slumber, and she accidentally kills him. So then she decides she's going to be becoming the overlord of the place. So it's a really fun alternate mode if you're interested. It's like this version's worth buying just for that mode alone. And I believe there was a DS port of Disgaea 1 as well, because obviously this was original on the PS2. It was a DS port, but it didn't have Etna mode. And then I think the PC version, Disgaea Complete, that added Etna mode, I'm pretty certain. But it's still a great version of the game anyway. I just love these games. This is a strategy RPG giant game. There's like 7 of them now. 7 came out last year, I remember. But yeah, obviously, yeah, before it was the main PlayStation console would get the original version, and they would do like an updated version for the PSP, which is cool. It's one of the few games where the handheld version is actually kind of like the better version, which is cool. Because with a lot of the ports, they would be kind of downgraded. Whereas obviously, because it's a 2D style game, it works really well for that. So next up, this is a really big one. God Eater Burst. So yeah, this is basically Monster Hunter. No, near enough. So this is essentially yeah, Monster Hunter, but in a more of a futuristic kind of world, modern day setting. You could do 4-player, yeah, wireless compatibility and all that. Like I said, you could do the ad hoc mode and all that. Oh, I think I got it wrong with ad hoc mode. Ad hoc mode was essentially more like the online play, actually. I think that's how that worked, yeah. That's how the PSP did online play. Yeah, you could up to 4 people co-op, you team up and you fight big monsters, basically. But yeah, it's literally just Monster Hunter. So yeah, if you're interested in a different version of Monster Hunter, you got this. I think there's like about 3 or 4 of these games. You can get, I know one of them is on the Switch because I do have one. That might be like the 3rd one or something. Yeah, cool little game. And obviously, yeah, PSP Essentials is the version of like Platinum, basically. The Platinum Hits version or whatever. Next up, a couple of cool Yu-Gi-Oh games. Yu-Gi-Oh! Tag Force 1 and Tag Force 2. Yeah, so these are the PSP Yu-Gi-Oh games. There was about 6 of them altogether. Yeah, they started off from the GX era, and then each one was essentially an arc or 2 of the story. So I think there was 3 of these were GX ones. There was a couple that were 5Ds, and then there was a Zexal one, but I think that was only exclusive in Japan or something. Yeah, because I feel like there might have been 1 or 2 exclusive in Japan or something. But yeah, really great games. This one's a little bit different because you actually have a opponent or you have a partner, a tag partner. You do 2-on-2 duels. So, but you can also do single player ones as well, or you can do 1-on-1 duels as well. There's the dual, the free duel mode as well, which was obviously in later games as well, where you just have tons of different opponents you can fight and stuff. You could just have fun in the free duel mode. You don't even have to do the story. But yeah, this one is basically up to the Dark Riders arc, or whatever that one is. The first full arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and then this is basically the whole like Society of Light thing, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, if you're interested in, you know, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! GX as a story or as a video game instead of watching it, then you got that there. Really cool games on. They have the cards in there. I think these did come with promo cards, but I don't have them in this version. Yeah, that's the thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, you can see on the back there, you got some limited cards. But yeah, they're really cool games anyway. Next up, this is an interesting one. Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc. This one has just been added to the classic catalogue on PlayStation, PS Plus Premium, whatever it's called. This is basically a level 5 game, a little kind of strategy RPG, where we're basically replaying the story of Joan of Arc in a video game kind of Japanese anime style. So really cool game. I really like this one as well because she's voiced by Kari Walgren, who's like one of my favorite voiceover artists. She's done tons of work. Ash from Final Fantasy 12 in particular, and name others, among others. But yeah, really cool game. Definitely worth trying out. And like I said, you don't even need this version now. So if you've got, I think you can even buy. You don't even have to just have the premium catalog. I haven't actually checked on that yet, but you may actually be able to buy it on there as well. So if you're interested, I think this is a bit more pricey as well with the PSP version. So yeah, because it's like one of the must-have games on the PSP. I picked up pretty cheap, like a little bit after it came out. Because obviously a lot of these games I bought as I was playing on my PSP, or throughout the time. Yeah, another one, Pro Evolution Soccer 06. I've said this in my last video, my PS2 one. I just like having a sports game. I enjoy football and stuff, so just a fun little game. Obviously what was great is this was the first console where you could have good sports games on the go as well, because they were like basically console quality. Yeah, not really need to say much about that. This is really interesting. This is Coded Arms. Cool little kind of FPS, or the closest thing you can get to an FPS on the PSP. There was also a sequel which was actually better. This was actually one of the launch titles from what I remember, and a really fun game. So yeah, I might want to try that one out. Another one of the launch titles, Tekken Dark Resurrection. Yeah, this was at the time when Sony would launch their consoles with a Tekken game. So obviously the PS2 launched with Tag, and then this one launched with Dark Resurrection. This was basically yeah, like I think it was essentially the same time as like Tekken 4 was out, or it might have been 5, but no, I think it was. Yeah, I think this was the same time as 5 actually. Yeah, so this was basically like a handheld version of Tekken 5, and then they did a HD version of this when the PS3 came out, which was a digital only game. So yeah, where it added like a couple extra characters or something. But yeah, really fun little game. Obviously, I think it only runs at 30 frames as opposed to 60, but still, it was cool to have a fighting game on the go. So yeah, yeah, I don't know if I could really recommend picking this game up now, because you may as well just buy like Tekken 8 or something like that. But I love the Tekken series, so yeah, it's another good one. So, and another one of the launch titles. This was Ridge Racer. Yeah, again, you know, Sony would launch a Ridge Racer with their console, so I think the PS1, 2, PSP and PS3 all launched with the Ridge Racer game, so this was just another one. I love Ridge Racer, as you know. Yeah, just a fun drift racing game, a bit more arcadey. Yeah, I'm not a fan of simulation races myself, so I really like this one. Yeah, pretty cheap as well, so, and yeah, Ridge Racer is not a thing anymore, so you may as well pick it up. Another thing I want to talk about now, this is one thing that was exclusive to the PSP, where they actually had movies on these UMDs, and this is The Mummy. Yeah, this is a bit of a weird one to have, but I actually really love this movie. I've seen it like a million times. It's just a fun little action movie. A big Brendan Fraser fan and everything. Yeah, just yeah, if you just want to watch a movie on the tiny PSP screen in low quality, you got it here. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, sub DVD quality, obviously. And one thing I forgot to mention is there was if you look over there, there's this little TV out thing, or a video out. So you get these cables to connect your PSP to the TV. So if you want to watch these movies on a giant TV for some reason, you can as well. So something. But yeah, obviously, yeah, we'll move on to my next lot of games. One thing that was awesome about the PSP was it had a bunch of Metal Gear games, and one of them is right here. I think this was also a launch title, Metal Gear Acid. So this is interesting because it's a spin-off game, so it's not your standard Metal Gear game. This is actually a turn-based strategy game, if you can believe that, yeah. And it uses like cards as well, so you build a deck of cards to do your moves. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but it's really cool. So this is obviously not a part of the actual storyline of Metal Gear. It's its own thing. So we have Snake and this other lady here, and you kind of switch between both of them and you do these levels. Obviously there's still like the alert and all that stuff you need to worry about, so you have to think ahead with your moves. So obviously you need to make sure you're hidden or whatever, or the enemies aren't going to spot you between turns and stuff. Yeah, once you get used to it, it's really cool. And yeah, this one's interesting because oh no, wait, that's the second game I'm thinking of, yeah, because there was a sequel as well, Metal Gear Acid 2. Yeah, just a continuation of the story. But this one's interesting. Here we go. Yeah, it had this like weird thing with it, right? So, kind of see in the back there, you kind of build this little thing that allows you to watch certain scenes in 3D. So it will let you watch these scenes from like Metal Gear Solid 3, a couple of cutscenes in 3D. It was just a weird thing that they did for some reason. Yeah, really interesting little game anyway. Both really cool. Only on the PSP, like most of the Metal Gear games that are on here. But hopefully we will get a some sort of collection for just these PSP games. Maybe Master Collection 2 will include them or something. We did also have a couple other ones. Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus. There's Portable Ops, there's Portable Ops Plus. So basically, this is, I don't think this is actually officially in the canon now, but there was like a little story mode. And this is more of a traditional Metal Gear game. So obviously we're playing as Big Boss here. And it's kind of him kind of recruiting people. We get to see him actually get Zero or Grey Fox. So we get to see his origin, which is kind of cool. And yeah, this is basically, you know, you get to see him building an army and stuff. It's a really cool little game. And then this is basically just like the VR missions version, where it just adds a bunch of extra stuff, just an expansion to this game. And this one actually had an online mode, which was cool. So you could do, you know, battles against each other in Metal Gear style, which was really cool. Yeah, and then the last one, probably one of the best games on the PSP, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, or Portable Ops Peace Walkers. And this is an official, or this is actually a part of the canon. So this is actually a sequel to Metal Gear Solid 3. And yeah, if I remember correctly, this was originally going to be Metal Gear Solid 5, but I think Kojima decided, because it's on the PSP, to not call it 5. Yeah, so there's technically like 6 games in the Metal Gear series as well, including MGS5 as well. Yeah, so in this game we actually get to see him start to build Mother Base, and it's he goes up against these people who create this AI, so we get to kind of see the start of the whole AI technology and what will become like S3 and all that later on in like MGS2 and stuff. And yeah, it's just a really great game. Obviously, being on the PSP, you would think it's just going to be this small little game, but no, there's a ton of content in this game. Yeah, you get to do the base development, recruiting people, assigning them to different things. It's basically a smaller scale version of the Phantom Pain or MGS5. So yeah, if you've played that game, you should check this one out as well. Obviously, this one is available on the original HD collection for PS3 and 360 if you're interested. I think you can just buy it separate digitally, because there was a weird thing where digital versions of the HD collection, 2 and 3 and Peace Walkers, were sold separately. But yeah, just pick up that HD collection or the Legacy collection on PS3, and yeah, you'll have an awesome time. Last but not least, there's all the Final Fantasy games that were on the PSP. Yeah, this was like one of the main reasons I picked up the PSP, because of all these great Final Fantasy games. First of all, I'm going to show you a couple of the movies. Yeah, we have The Spirits Within. This is a big thing. This is kind of the reason why Sakaguchi ended up leaving Square Enix. He, I don't know why, but he decided he wanted to direct a movie. It's basically just Alien, or Aliens, essentially, but just with like this weird Final Fantasy twist. It's like a sci-fi thing. It's not even fantasy based at all. Yeah, and there's actually like Hollywood actors, and I think they spent like over 100 million on this movie or something, and it flopped massively because Final Fantasy fans didn't want to see this at all, and I don't think mainstream audiences cared enough about Final Fantasy to want to go flock to cinemas to watch it. I think it got quite panned as well. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's worth watching, but it's just not that great. And yeah, it's an interesting part of the history of Final Fantasy anyway. Next up, one that I do like, which is Advent Children. Yeah, this is obviously Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. This is the first sequel to Final Fantasy VII, or the first part of the Final Fantasy VII compilation. Yeah, this was released 10 years after the original game. Released in theaters and everything in Japan. And yeah, I've watched this tons of times. It is just a bunch of like fan servicey fights and stuff, but it's really cool. Obviously, if you played the remakes, Remake and Rebirth, I think you'd quite enjoy this as well. Yeah, it's a really cool little sequel. I really hope that when they do decide, or once part 3 is finished of the remake trilogy, that they like make an expansion of this as a game or something. That would be so cool. Yeah, obviously no spoilers, but I'm wondering where that exists in the timeline, and in the universe of Final Fantasy VII, now that Remake and Rebirth have kind of changed everything. But anyway, next up, another 7 game, and that's Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, this is the prequel to Final Fantasy VII. This is where we basically play as Zack, and we get to finally see the Nibelheim incident, and what really happened, which is really cool. Obviously, you see the back there. We actually get to see Cloud as well and everything. And yeah, the Buster Sword is a big part of it. And yeah, this game was stuck on the PSP for ages, until like I think it was last year when they finally ported over this game to modern consoles. So we have Crisis Core Reunion, it's called. That did update the graphics, the gameplay style, and also changed the voice acting, because it added the voice actors from for the remake trilogy. Yeah, this game is finally on PlayStation Plus as well, so I'm actually going to give that one a go. I have played this game multiple times. One of the main reasons I bought a PSP was for this game, so yeah, it's amazing. It was definitely worth it. What's really interesting is it has basically the early version of the battle system and remake, obviously it only works with a single character. Obviously you could do your attacks, but then also, you know, do your normal magics and everything. There wasn't the ATB gauge, but you can kind of switch between the different materials and abilities you have on a little menu, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so it was still kind of like an action game with menu-based elements, which is really cool. So if you want to see the origins of the remake battle system, then give it a go. Yeah, next up, Final Fantasy 1. Yeah, so this was released for like the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy 1. This was basically, or I think at this point, this still is like the most complete version of the original game, because obviously it has the most up-to-date script. It has, basically it's the DS Origins version, or whatever it's called, or was it the Anniversary Edition? I can't remember what it's called, but there was a collection of 1 and 2 on the DS. They ported both of them over to the PSP, released them separately though, added an extra dungeon, bunch of extra bosses and everything, and yeah, both just the best versions of the game. You do have the pixel remasters, but they removed a lot of things. Obviously this one has MP instead of the magic charge system, whatever it is, whereas that one, each spell only has a certain amount of uses, whereas this one just has traditional MP. Really cool version. This was the first version of Final Fantasy 1 I played, so, and it's a great game. I still think FF1 holds up really well for a game released in '87. Like, it's actually amazing. Not a lot of RPGs from that then are, you know, as good as this. Yeah, I'd say it's worth checking out. If you're a big Final Fantasy fan, this is like the version of the first game to get. And like I said, you got 2 as well on there, which I only have a digital copy of. And there is a version, I don't have it, but Final Fantasy 3 did get a port to PC, the 3D remake that is. But that was only released, I think, in Japan. But it does have all the English language in it. And obviously the PSP is region free, so yeah, you may want to look into that one as well. So yeah, awesome version of the game. Next up, oh, Final Fantasy 4. This is the complete collection. So this is actually, like I said with Final Fantasy 1, this is the most complete and best version of Final Fantasy 4. This is Final Fantasy 4 and its sequel, The After Years, and they also added an extra bit in between called the Interlude, which kind of bridges the gap between both of them. And yeah, this is kind of like a deluxe edition. I bought this day 1 when it came out. It comes with, I got this little cloth thing, I guess, if you want to clean your PSP. I've never opened that. And you had all these little, really cool little art cards. So we got, yeah, got Kane there. Got this little scene of Edward and all that, and another scene at the back there. There's gold, oh my god, is it gold bars? Yeah, I think it is, yeah it is. And so that's all there. Both his normal and paladin versions. And yeah, we've got Rydia. And we've got the twins, Pal and Porum, probably my favourite characters. But yeah, just a great game. I love Final Fantasy 4 a lot. Yeah, I do have a full playthrough on my channel if you're interested. That is the pixel remaster version though. Yeah, the thing is, like, pixel remaster is probably the one you want to go for because it is the most accessible, I suppose. You can get it on PC, mobile and console. But this is like the ultimate version, so you know, if you're looking to get a PSP, I would look into the version, so it's definitely worth it. Got a few games left. Another one, obviously another Final Fantasy game. This is Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, and believe it or not, this game actually hasn't had a 2D HD or pixel remaster version yet, which is kind of crazy. They did it with Tactics Ogre, but not Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, or Final Fantasy Tactics, sorry. Yeah, so obviously this is this was kind of the first, I suppose, spin-off of the Final Fantasy series. This is a strategy RPG, and obviously by that I mean, like, you have like a grid and you have players that you move per turns. It's kind of like a chess RPG basically. And yeah, obviously this was originally a PS1 game, and then obviously they ported it onto the PSP, added some extra stuff. You even get Balth there as a playable character, which is awesome, even though it's not connected to Final Fantasy 12. And you also get Cloud as a secret character as well, but that was also in the PSP version. And then they ported this to mobile, but It's not been ported to anything else since then. Yeah, and here's to hoping we get Pixel Remastered at some point. This is a bit more on the difficult side, or at least I found it was at the time. I need to replay it actually. So at the time I never really played many strategy games, but yeah, it's really cool. And obviously if you like this one, you do have Tactics Advance 1 and 2, which are available on the Game Boy Advance, which is cool. Yeah, and next up we've got two last games. These are really interesting ones. This is Dissidia Final Fantasy and Dissidia 012 or Duodecent. These are basically, this is Final Fantasy Smash Bros essentially, but it's a bit different. It's like an arena fighter. So we've got basically all of the main heroes and the main villains of all the Final Fantasy games at the time. I think it was only the first 12 or so in this one, or no, I think it was only up to Final Fantasy 10 actually. Yeah, no 12 representative. I think maybe Gabranth was available in it or something. But yeah, there was no Vaughn. And this one added Vaughn and Lightning as well. So yeah, you do have up to 13 in this one. So yeah, both really awesome games. Both actually have like a cool story mode as well. So in this one you pick whoever you want to in the heroes, and then you go through a story mode, and then you have these cool interactions between all the heroes and villains throughout the story modes, which is cool. And in this one, you kind of switch between the different heroes from what I remember, and it's a bit more of an involved story mode. Essentially, Chaos has brought all the villains together, and then I can't remember the name of the goddess, Cosmos, that's her name, it says on the back thankfully. She gathers all the heroes and then they have to fight them off. It's just an excuse to see them all kind of fight each other really. Both really awesome games. These are probably never get imported, so I'm assuming the PSP is the only way to play them. So, but yeah, there was so much Final Fantasy goodness on the PSP, wasn't there? They did also do the other, what's it called, Dissidia NT for like PS4 and Xbox One, which was kind of terrible. It was like a 3-on-3 fighter. I think it was they were trying to turn it into more of a serious fighter for like the competitive scene, like EVO and stuff, but it was just not good, so no one played it. And then they weirdly tried to make it into like this free-to-play version where they had a demo and then they would rotate the characters, and that didn't work either. So yeah, I mean, I hope they do attempt to do another fighting game. They don't have to do one in this style. Maybe do like a more traditional 2D fighting game or something, or, you know, get the Tekken people or someone to make one. That would be cool. I know that wasn't Noctis in Tekken 7, so, you know, why not? But yeah, that is my PSP collection. Obviously, yeah, it's not the biggest, but yeah, I think it's really cool anyway. And obviously one thing about the PSP, which I forgot to mention, was, you know, it was basically, you know, a bunch of, you know, tons of like PS2 and even some PS3 games that got ports onto here. Like both, I believe Tekken 6 had a port on here. A couple of the BlazBlue games had ports. There was things like Silent Hill. There was, what was it, Shattered Memories. That was the one that got a port. And there's, you know, just a bunch of other random games like that. It was really well supported, so you got like a big library of games there. There's even more like racing games. I think there was a Gran Turismo game that got ported on there. It's actually really good. Yeah, you had you know, even more kind of like racing games and stuff. Loads of shooters and things. Tons of fighting games. Like so much on here. So many good things. There's one that I don't have anymore. A couple of games, in fact. There was a Darkstalkers collection which I ended up giving to a mate of mine, which included a couple of the games on there, which was really awesome. And there's one that I lost, unfortunately, which was Parasite Eve: The Third Birthday, which isn't a great game, but it was a new Parasite Eve game. It was just called The Third Birthday, sorry, because they didn't actually have the rights to Parasite Eve at that point and didn't want to get them. So it was randomly just a third Parasite Eve game on there. And it wasn't like a survival horror game, it was just like a weird third-person shooter. But it does have really cool graphics. And for some reason, well, I say for some reason because they're kind of perverts, they had this weird mechanic where Aya's clothes would like degrade or like as she got damaged. It's really weird. I don't know what they were thinking with that game, but it's one of the prettier games. And then there was the God of War games as well, how could I forget? God of War Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta, which were like, I think Chains of Olympus was a sequel to 1, and then Ghost of Sparta was a sequel to 2, from what I remember. And both really good games, look amazing, and yeah, are just full God of War games. And yeah, like I said, it was also a PS1, so, you know, if you have a PS3, and, you know, you can move your PS1 games over, the digital ones, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say in this video. So yeah, obviously if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe and all that YouTube jazz, and hopefully I will catch you guys in the next one, when, you know, we'll probably do another collection video or something gaming related as always. Anyway, have a great rest of your day.